Hey everyone, my name is Harknee. I'm a techno and house music DJ and producer, and today I'm going to be reviewing everything that I've achieved in 2020 and showing you some of the behind the scenes stuff about being an artist. This will be a series of videos that I'll hopefully be releasing every sort of couple of months, where I talk about what I've sort of gained, what I've learned, what I've researched, what I've been influenced by as well. You know, sort of peeling back the curtain and showing you sort of some of the behind the scenes stuff that artists don't usually share. As it's now the end of 2020, I thought I'd go over and review what I've been doing over the last 6 months and see where I can be sort of doing a bit better going into 2021. We'll start with my track Jam on Acid that I released back in the summer. This was very much an experiment to see how much work was required to release a track, as I hadn't actually released anything for about 3 years. The track itself sounded, from a production point of view, sounded really, really nice and even got featured on Danny Snowden's radio show. I initially released the track just on YouTube and SoundCloud, as I hadn't done enough research into releasing music onto music streaming services, and I didn't really want to rush that process and potentially do something wrong, as I know this was going to be quite an important step. But despite being a lot of work with sort of everything being new to me, I still felt it was a success. It gained a bit of traction on Instagram on the short little clip that I uploaded, and it managed to reach some new people and I gained some new followers out of it, which was sort of exactly what I was looking for. Well, this showed the format that I used on social media for the video, the sort of the caption, the hashtags, everything that I was doing there seemed to work. This was certainly pleasing, as I was also starting to look a lot more seriously at using Instagram to build a brand for myself, but we'll talk a little bit more about my social media later. Moving on to my next release, which was my Common EP. I drip fed each track over the course of a few months and then released the EP as a whole onto streaming services via Ditto in October. Ditto has been really, really good so far, definitely helped by the flat £19 fee that you pay yearly, which is showing better value for money over other services like DistroKid or CD Baby, for example. The analytics tool in Ditto is nice, although it does lag behind by a few days, but I think that's more due to the fact that some of the stores don't update their statistics in real time. Spotify does do this though, and gives me a more accurate picture of my audience, both from their geographical locations and also whereabouts on Spotify they're listening from, whether it be their own library, a Spotify algorithmic playlist, or one of their own curated personal playlists. During the first week of my release, Spotify made for about 3/4 of all of the traction that I had on my Feature FM Smart Link. I can only see the last 7 days of traffic on my Feature FM account because I'm using the free plan. But now that I know that Spotify makes up roughly about 3/4 of all of the traffic that I get, I can use Spotify as probably a more accurate idea of sort of where my audience is exactly and more precisely, as Spotify shows you where the listeners are sort of in the country more precisely. For example, London, a specific town, a specific area of London as well, whereas Ditto, it only shows the country that has streamed your track. Looking at my royalties tab, not that I've made any real money yet, but so far I've made half a pence. I have to wait until I've reached £25 before I can actually withdraw any of this money, but it's really nice to see the progress that I've made from starting in the last 6 months, that there is, whilst it's only half a pence, it's definitely progress to ultimately making money and making a living off of streaming royalties. It's also interesting to see that I've earned less from Spotify than I have from Apple Music. Now, this doesn't account for all of the streaming sites, as they don't generate their sales reports at the same time. So currently, at the moment, I only have my sales reports from Spotify and Apple Music. But it's interesting to see that Apple Music has paid me 4 times as much as Spotify has paid me, despite the fact that Spotify makes up about 3/4 of all of the traction I get on my smart links. I know Spotify gets a lot of bad press for paying their artists poorly, but I didn't think it would be this obvious. I'll be keeping an eye on my royalties tab as my streams hopefully increase, and I'll hopefully be showing some of you guys as well, realistically, the money that artists could be making independently through their streaming royalties. Getting my music onto streaming services was an important step, because it now meant that I was able to start promoting my music as available on streaming services, meaning that my regular mates had an easier option to listen to my music. At the moment, most of my audience is on Instagram, and most of my followers are people I knew from college or school. My Instagram analytics show that a lot of my followers are still from Somerset, which is where I went to school and college. But nearly all of them are perhaps more regular music listeners compared to the people I met at university at BIM, who are all, musicians and music students themselves, who might have a more active interest in music and all of their friends' music as well. So this means that sort of the majority of my audience that I have are perhaps less likely to jump over to something like SoundCloud or YouTube to listen to someone's song and then jump back to their own streaming service of choice. So if I'm just to continue to release music on SoundCloud and YouTube for free, I have this disconnect between the majority of my audience and my music, being that how they listen to music isn't actually on the service that they primarily use. But now that my music is available on all of these streaming services, this means that the onus is now more on my audience to go and listen to my music, as there isn't this barrier to access it and listen to it, which can potentially mean that my more casual music listening audience that I have will be able to listen to my music a lot more easier, and then I can get them more engaged with the music that I'm creating and the content that I'm creating for social media as well, rather than just seeing a link for YouTube or SoundCloud. And we know that people's attention spans and how likely people are to jump over to another platform to go and do something on their phone, it's not very high at all. So now that there's this easier gateway to my music, this can only lead to increased activity, increased engagement, increased listens, increased everything, which can only be a good thing going forward whenever I release more and more music. The last thing on my music quickly, as well as uploading to Ditto and all of the streaming services, I'll still be using SoundCloud and YouTube because they're free at the end of the day, and especially with YouTube, the user base is phenomenally active. And also looking at the videos that I've already uploaded, my track 4.5 has gotten more than 200 views and has got a lot of traffic through suggested videos, which shows that the YouTube algorithm is actually doing some work for me through the hashtags that I used. So it's still worth my time to put the effort in and create the videos to put on YouTube, as there is still potential for me to reach a new audience on YouTube just with my music, as well as making videos like this. I just want to talk about the music that I've been creating recently, the projects that I'm working on and what's sort of inspiring me at the moment. I've got a record number of projects on the go at the moment. I think it's about 12, I think. The 20 Days of Focus challenge that I did at the beginning of October definitely contributed to that. And following the 60-minute rule of music creation every day for 20 days seriously improved my creative output during this time. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to stick to that routine since, but I've spent time working on other projects like YouTube videos and sort of planning next year as well. I've been enjoying a lot of dub techno recently, sort of the deeper and darker and slightly slower side of techno, and currently have about 2 projects on the go of this style. The more laid back and atmospheric vibe seems to suit my skill set a little bit better, with the focus being more on creating unique sounds and textures rather than just focusing on energy and rhythm. Hopefully in the new year, I'll be releasing a couple of these dub techno tracks that I have on the go at the moment. Maybe I'll even make an EP out of them, who knows. I've been spending a lot of time with some new synthesizers lately. To be specific, I've Surge and Pendulator. These have both been a lot of fun to play with, especially Surge. The amount of control and potential in that synth is absolutely unbelievable. There is simply so much going on with all the different oscillator types. To be honest, it's probably my go-to synthesizer at the moment, despite the fact that I don't fully understand it. Sort of the FM modulation that you can do in it, I haven't even touched all of that yet. At the moment, I'm just focusing on the basic subtractive synthesis and some of the wavetable as well. Once I start getting into the FM side of Surge, then the options basically just seem unlimited. It's crazy how that synth is free for what you get with it. Yes, the UI does look a little bit outdated, but it's a phenomenal synth. Maybe I'll do a video about looking at Surge and sort of the potential it has, because it's such a powerful synthesizer. I certainly think more about creating my own sounds now, and now that I've got a few synthesizers that I feel comfortable with, this will certainly help me creating my own synth patches and improving my sound design overall, which will then lead to my music being a lot more unique and bespoke. On the 9th of September, I uploaded a Roland 909 sort of jam session video. It was fun recording me jamming on my drum machine, and I believe it makes for good online content too. It's a relatively easy way to get yourself in front of new people, as it's easy content to consume for an average viewer and isn't actually that difficult to make at the end of the day. With TikTok being a massive thing at the moment and following a quick experiment over sort of the last few weeks, I will definitely be doing more videos like this. If I can incorporate one of my tracks into sort of a short form 30-second video that I can put on, say, TikTok or Instagram Reels or something, then it has the potential to give me another way to promote one of my tracks. I also made a vlog review piece to camera video where I talked about my time at university. I felt relatively confident being behind the camera, and the editing process, whilst quite long and laborious at times, wasn't too difficult. I spent a lot of time at university making critical analysis videos for my assessments, so the whole process of making that video felt quite streamlined, even if I did have some issues with my camera only being able to record roughly about 20 minutes at a time, which is why you see the video cut out but the audio sort of remain the same as I record the audio externally from the camera and then sync it up like this. This type of video isn't going to get me loads of views or traction, but what it does do is show off a bit more of myself and gives people a new opportunity to connect with me by seeing sort of how I talk and how I present myself behind a camera. It's also sort of the video that you need to sit down and spend a lot of time with if you want to get the most out of it, as there's a lot of information in there. So the sort of people that are going to watch it, who are hopefully potential BIM students, are going to sit down and spend, sort of 10 to 20 to 30 minutes watching that video. And then that's 10 to 20, 30 minutes of them watching me, and that gives them an opportunity to sort of hear what I'm saying and hopefully connect with me better, rather than just seeing sort of a 15-second TikTok video where they just see like a tiny snippet of me, and it's maybe perhaps a little bit more difficult to sort of build up a genuine sort of connection to that person through short form videos, compared to a longer video where it's a bit more laid back and it's a bit more professional. I was very happy with how the video turned out in the end, and I definitely want to do more content like this, which is why you're seeing another video like this, really. I also want to continue to do these and increase sort of the quality of these videos, as I spent 2 years at college studying media. So this whole sort of camera setup, audio setup, I enjoy doing this. So I want these videos to be better. So potentially I would like to get a light just above the camera to make the lighting better. I'd like to get perhaps a new perhaps to get a condenser microphone one day, get more of a teleprompter rather than just using a laptop with a Word document that I'm just scrolling through and you can see me looking down each time. If I can have that sort of in front of the camera like that, and then I can read the scrolling text and do it for it to be more professional. That's what I'd like to be aiming for. This is also a great way to increase my portfolio and give sort of random people more opportunities to discover me as well. Because if they're seeing this high quality video content as well as, I think, high quality music, then that gives me greater opportunity for random people to discover me. Now, lastly, before I move on to my social media content, just a quick recommendation for any of you who are Apple Music listeners and listen to electronic music. Club Quarantine, which was happening during the quarantine periods, which were sort of virtual audio visual raves that were happening, or streams that were happening on YouTube. They've been uploading loads of their sets onto Apple Music from their virtual club events, and I would highly recommend them. As I was writing the script for this video, I was listening to Aurora Halal's set. Now, moving on to the final part of the video, my social media content. After finishing university, I wanted to take social media a lot more seriously in order to build a following of people who will be interested in my music. A lot of people suggest posting every day, but I don't feel like this is a sustainable thing to do, as I feel like it would essentially become a full-time job alongside making, these sorts of videos as well as my music, which is ultimately priority number one. I simply wouldn't have enough time to be posting every day and planning and creating all of this content every day, alongside working 4 days a week, creating and releasing music and everything that goes along with that, making videos like these, which can potentially take up to 2 weeks to make. But despite this, I am committed to posting sort of as regularly as I can, as I do see the benefit of it, and looking at the different types of content that I put out, whether it be a picture of me, or a video of my music, or a picture of an object. It's been interesting to see which sort of types of content get the most engagement. One thing that I do know works is including my face tends to get a higher engagement compared to a picture of an object, for an example. This was proved with the video that I did just after I'd released my EP, where I talked to the camera and sort of thanked everyone for listening to my music. This got a ton of engagement, both in terms of the views that it got, the hashtag reach, and the reach from home as well, as this is something that I've discovered that that Instagram is particularly crap at, is the organic home reach. I'll be lucky if I can hit 200 people, or if I can reach 200 people with any of my posts. Now, I have about 450 followers at the moment, so that's roughly I'm reaching 40% of my audience with my posts. I'm not even reaching half of my potential audience, which is pretty rubbish, but it's good that I now know this, and I can now and looking at my analytics, I know now which forms of content are more likely to reach more people. But as well as including my face, other forms of content perform particularly well as well. My Spotify Wrapped picture that I put up performed quite well as well, especially in the hashtags too. I think this partly was down to it being sort of a trend at the time. Spotify released their 2020 Wrapped, or Spotify for Artists released their 2020 Wrapped screenshot statistics thing, and everyone started posting them as they tend to do every year for the last few years. I jumped on that bandwagon as I'm officially a Spotify artist. The 20 Days of Focus Challenge was a massive help for me in terms of the potential growth I could get if I fully commit to doing social media every day. Now, for those that don't know, here are the rules. I'll put them up somewhere. Unfortunately, I'm unable to see the insights from the 20 days as it happened back in October, and I can't remember sort of the amount of profile views and overall engagement I was getting at the time. But I gained, I think, roughly about 50 followers in 20 days just from doing this challenge and doing, posting on all people's content through the hashtags, messaging lots of people, posting every day, and people finding my content. Just in 20 days, I can get 50 followers. It was very tough, and it was the only thing I could really focus on during this time period, which meant I felt pretty burnt out afterwards, but it was definitely worth doing. And if the challenge is set again next year, I'll definitely be doing it because I can see the massive gains that I can make in doing it and focusing purely on my social media and music for 20 days solid. I've also been experimenting with carousels and trying some more informative and, I guess, educational posts. A particular highlight was the story of my Common EP that I did, where I had, 8 different slides of, short little sentences about sort of the creation of the EP and sort of the story behind it. I felt it performed quite well, and I really enjoyed making it using Photoshop. I felt like it was a good piece of content to promote my release and something I'll definitely be doing again for future releases. It also has the added bonus of reappearing in people's feeds if they haven't viewed every single slide yet, giving that post more opportunities to connect with other people, therefore theoretically making them more likely to see another one of my posts if they continue to interact and scroll through all of the slides. Yo, so my SD card ran out of space as I was filming the last bit of this video, so I'll just quickly do the little reflection at the end and the outro as well. Was the, how have the last few months been, just generally? Yeah, they've been great. The first few months of being an actual, artist. Yeah, they've been good. My social media has definitely seen some growth over the last few months. Taking it more seriously has been good. But I feel like a lot of my sort of casual audience. There we go. I feel like a lot of my casual audience, they know they're aware that I'm doing music, but they don't seem particularly interested. So I need to find a way to get more people, or more of my casual audience, more interested in what I'm doing. Hopefully creating sort of different forms of content will hopefully get people get my casual audience more interested in what I'm doing. The 20 Days of Focus Challenge that I did back in October, that definitely helped me grow. And it was good to see sort of the potential growth that I can get if I commit to doing social media sort of, a bit more full-time or more actively anyway. Releasing music over the last few months has definitely been successful. The numbers are currently quite low, but it's out there. I'm not really looking for high numbers at the moment. I'm just more focused on getting everything set up, and it's just sort of one step at a time at the moment. I'm not looking for massive numbers, so as long as they're above 0, and so there are some people listening to it, I'm not really that fussed. I've had 0 issues with uploading either. Disso has been great so far. I can't complain with their service. It's easy to upload the artwork, the music, get everything set up. It's all relatively easy. What else do we have here? Yeah, no, I think that's everything then. That sort of wraps this video up and wraps up 2020, I guess. I'll hopefully be doing another sort of piece to camera, sort of reflecting on the last few months, looking at the music, looking at what I've been doing, my social media, how it's all sort of performing. I'll hopefully be doing another one of those probably I've been doing them maybe every 3 or 4 months. We probably expect to see another video like this around Easter time, I think. March, April time anyway. What I've been doing, how I could be doing better, and showing you guys, sort of what goes on behind the scenes, sort of my mindset and how I feel like I'm doing as sort of progressing as an artist, because ultimately, whilst this is a hobby at the moment, I want to be growing and I want to be doing more to make this my full-time job, basically, and not spend 4 days a week working in a freaking McDonald's, because McDonald's pays well, but the job is just so not what I want to be doing. But yeah, anyway, let's wrap this video up before I keep rambling on. Yeah, I hope you all have a good Christmas, and yeah, with the restrictions in place, I hope you'll get to see your families and do nice things. So yeah, have a good Christmas, and I will see you in the new year.